I don't know if you can't see that you are sweet, but this is the OSMcast. Hello and welcome to the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome. I'm Basil.
I'm Kevin.
Ho, 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 motherfuckers.
And that's us. So, ho, 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 motherfuckers, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Or if this is somehow your first episode, and it quite potentially could be, that was John. As this is going to be a Christmas miracle as long as things go as they should, and I don't see why they won't. This episode will be coming out on Christmas Eve. So, Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Starlight if you play Final Fantasy XIV, Festivus for the rest of us.
Aid.
Yeah, whatever holidays you might.
May Ragnar the Bloodletter leave your family unmutilated this season.
Happy Yule.
Good winter solstice. Is that today? I think it's today.
Yeah.
It is today, at least the day
Yeah.
we're recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, all those holidays. Yeah, when people say happy holidays, we do mean all of them.
So daylight's looking up from here on out.
We are balls deep in the holidays.
That's right. And if you also want to get balls deep with the OSMcast,
Oh, yeah.
hey, did I mention we have a Patreon? Get balls deep with your pocketbooks and join the Patreon where you get a cool color in the Discord, which we also have a Discord you should totally join. No, the Patreon is in fact how I'm able to pay for the OSMcast. It helps cover server fees and whatnot, and it's not the most expensive thing, but it's also not exactly cheap because I pay for a website and podcast hosting separately because there isn't really one service that does both to the way that I'd want to actually do both. So it would certainly help. Our Discord's a great place to talk to us, to interact, to let us know what you think about things. Many times, for example, later in this episode, we fielded some questions from listeners like you, and those questions, right now, half of them came from the Discord. So it's a good time. You should totally join it. We also have our TeePublic store. So if you'd like to buy some OSMcast or Carbuncle Chronicle, our Final Fantasy XIV podcast, shirts, you can totally do that, or bags, or whatever assortment that you can slap those logos onto. As it is the holidays, I do recommend our holiday shirts that I did last year. I really, really like those. But now, before we get into Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket episode, there is only 3 of us, which means we're bringing back Moments of Awesome.
It's a moment of awesome.
Yes, that's right. Moments of Awesomes are little bits of chitter chatter that we talk about things that we like that have not gotten a full episode yet. Mine is the latest video game from the studio Mistwalker, but also in conjunction with Square Enix for publishing, as well as a little bit of extra stuff. It is the current final game, possibly, we'll see. He's kind of thought about doing more again, from Hironobu Sakaguchi, and is the final video game that has its full score composed by Nobu Uematsu, Fantasian Neo Dimension. It is on everything. It is a JRPG as JRPG, and it's also a Final Fantasy PlayStation 1 era-esque JRPG as JRPG. It is brilliant. It is great. I would say it's going to become my entire personality, but let's be honest here. Final Fantasy games already are my entire personality. So it's just slotting just really neatly right in there. It's turn-based. has some pretty hard boss fights, especially the further you get into it. I really like that graphically, it very much harkens to the era of the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasies, but instead of CG backgrounds, they're all little dioramas that they made and photographed the hell out of. And apparently got a lot of tokusatsu folks who they got to actually help them design and create and build all these little dioramas. But what else I like about it is that the pictures are not like perfectly taken. They're still a little bit fuzzy. So you still sort of get the feeling like they're those CG backgrounds from the early Final Fantasy games. And it makes it mix better and easier with the polygon graphics that are overlaid on top of them. It's got a good story. It's got fun characters. They do the thing with Lost Odyssey where they would do little, almost like little visual novel like snippets to help tell the story. They do a similar thing in Fantasian when they need to actually, like, it's not just cutscenes. They also will do this text thing along with now voice acting. The two things that Square Enix really helped, A, is publish it. After Sakaguchi got really into Final Fantasy XIV, Naoki Yoshida, the producer and director of Final Fantasy XIV, he was like, hey, do you want to write some stuff for 14? And Sakaguchi's like, no, I don't. That'd be spoilers for myself. I just want to play your game. So apparently Yoshida was like, we want this to help you publish your game that you already made on Apple Arcade, and it's currently stuck. And apparently that way he was like, oh, yes, actually, that would be very useful. So they published it. They also added in very close to full voice acting, both in English and Japanese. Apparently the Apple Arcade version, because it was originally an Apple Arcade game exclusive, didn't have any voice acting at all, which probably helped with download sizes. But for this, they went ahead and did it. And both dubs, as far as I can tell, are good. They also did this really neat thing. I think this was actually extremely cool and has been very useful, is they also allow you to customize your battle themes. You can use the Fantasian battle music that Uematsu composed for it, but also there's a selection of Final Fantasy games from the Pixel remasters 14 and 16. So if you decide that you just want to listen to Final Fantasy 14 music for your battle music, you can do that. Or you can actually have it set to random. And that's what I really, really enjoy, because you don't know what you're getting. Sometimes it is the Fantasian music. Sometimes it is Pixel remasters. Sometimes it is Final Fantasy 14 or 16. And they further will do it such that if it's random battles, you'll get like the random battle music. But if you're doing boss fights, you'll get the equivalent boss fight music. I didn't think they would think that far ahead, but they did. And it is very, very neat to suddenly be like, all right, doing a boss. Oh shit, this is the boss fight music from Dawn Trail. Okay, that just came out only a few months ago. I wasn't expecting something that new to be in this game, but it works. It works real well. And hell, a lot of those songs were Uematsu songs to begin with. So Fantasian, it's a good time. Everyone should play it. Heaven, what's your moment of awesome?
I'm not straying too far from the retro RPG tree, because I walked down the other available path to pick up the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remaster, which is also really good. I did have the thought playing it of, at some point, this is kind of story light for a modern RPG, only to go, but when this came out, I bet this was extremely story heavy by RPG standards of the time.
Yep.
But it's sort of the typical, there's a bad guy, you're a hero, your dad was also a hero, but he disappeared, so you got to go out into the world and hero some shit up. And you get yourself a little party of like-minded adventurers who are basically they don't really have stories, they just fill your party. But that also gives you a lot of flexibility of who you take with you. And eventually reach to the point where you get to, change character classes, so you get to combine, but you really don't forget any of your abilities from your previous classes, so you get to start mixing and matching, which is always fun. And, like a good many Dragon Quest games, when you think it's about to be over, it's not over. And even when it's really over, it's not over. there's still lots of little extra things to do. There's extra little monster tournament battles to take on, extra bosses. You can find a dragon to grant your wish, which seems kind of suspiciously like another Toriyama property, but here we are. But it's I had a good time. The story I give advice wise is I didn't really need a dedicated healer until well after you reach the place where you can start changing people's classes. I don't know if that was deliberate game design, but if you don't actually want to put a priest in your party, you don't have to. It helps that the protagonist learns a mix of attack and healing spells. They kind of get a highlight reel of some of the more utilitarian spells in the game, even though they're not strictly speaking a mage or priest. So it's, of course, the hero is the only character whose class you can't change. So that's special. But in spite of me saying it's a little story light for an RPG now, it still has a decent collection of colorful characters. It's got some pretty, it's got the cool Dragon Quest monster designs and optional where the hell do I go next on showing up on the map or not, depending on how old school hardcore you feel. But all in all, pretty enjoyable. I guess the only thing I would say, the where do I go next thing might ruin you past the point of I thought this was where the game ended, but it didn't. Because it will just basically take you real quick through the stuff you have to do before you get to the real game ending. And there is some more side stuff to explore the game doesn't force you to in that section of the game. So, don't assume the little dot will take you everywhere you can go. It just takes you everywhere you need to go. But that's about it. I recommend that if you're, if maybe after you played Fantasian or if your retro RPG game tastes drift more toward Dragon Quest, it's also a good time.
Excellent. I'm actually really curious about John's moment of awesome because I've been hearing a little bit of chatter about it, but I wasn't quite sure what it actually was. So, John, what's your moment of awesome?
Yeah, mine's going to be the mod for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, known as Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Beyond. A little Buzz Lightyear there. Anyone who knows the story of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, it's an unfortunate game that came out very rushed. The graphics looked awful. They looked worse than the game on the previous generation's hardware, and for a lot of different reasons, it just never took off. But recently, over the last year or so, a team of independent modders, along with Maximilian, who's known in the fighting game community largely for his Marvel vs. Capcom content as well as other stuff through the years, but known particularly for Marvel vs. Capcom. He and the modding community got together and really did a total graphical overhaul of the game. So it looks probably the way it should have when it first came out. It's got, instead of just looking, vaguely 3D and kind of bland, it really has that comic book style now, and it really pops. You can see for yourself online. There are trailers abound for it, but it's now out. It's free, so you do need the Steam PC version of the game to play the mod. But you can get that pretty cheap. Like I think I saw at the time of recording, Wario 64 posted a listing for it for under $7. So if you're curious about the game, if you're curious about the mod, you can drop down a few bucks and download the mod for free, and you can see all the hard work that's gone into it.
How hard is it to mod the game?
That I don't know. I have not modded it myself, but I imagine that it's probably relatively easy to do, just because it's a very public mod. So, I imagine that the steps to download it are going to be fairly easy, considering how much work went into it.
Okay, awesome.
You shouldn't have to go like plumbing the depths of the internet and Reddit to figure it out.
Well, good. All right. So, with that said, we're going to take a short musical interlude. When we come back, we're talking about Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket. This is the OSMcast.
Can't you see that you are sweet? Oh, let me
So, man, OAVs, OVAs, I never can remember what term we actually use nowadays for those, but man, is it feel like somewhat of a lost art nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you get a little bonus not on TV episode with your Blu-ray set every once in a while. It usually amounts to nothing, just characters kind of farting around and being goofy. But there used to be a time back long ago when they'd make whole, they'd make whole little shows and toss them out just on like VHS tapes. You kids, ask your parents what a VHS tape is. But
Not just VHS tapes, there were laser discs and eventually DVDs and other forms of video formats. But during the late, especially 80s, 90s, even early aughts, like it was OAVs, OVAs. They were a thing. Shoot, one of our last big episodes was about one, Gunbuster, and it really does feel the OAV thing is you don't really see it like you used to, especially now in the advent of streaming and whatnot. A lot of stuff I feel that especially could be OAVs that we don't really, we have the 12 episode TV show. Sometimes those will be 24, but we don't really get, aside from a few now distinct shows, you don't get like the really long show, but you also don't get like the really short show. And I think that's a shame. And I think that this OAV, OVA, whatever it is a great example of what you can do with shorter form storytelling.
you got a little more, you got more than a movie, but less than your typical TV series.
Usually the animation was like a step above your usual television show.
That's true. Like back in the, the 80s and 90s OAV boom era, you kind of expected it to be a bump up in quality. Even if it was like a franchise you were familiar with, you were like expecting a jump because they just hand you a wheelbarrow full of money if you came up to the animation studio and said, "Hey, I got an idea." For a while it was pretty great.
Yeah. At this show, Mobile Suit Gundam 0080, War in the Pocket, was an OAV series. They released episodes, I guess it was every month or so, because it went from March to August of 1989. So they were churning them out pretty quickly. And there's only 6 episodes. But again, it tells a really good, it gets in, it tells a story, it gets out.
Yeah, and so I guess this should be mentioned that, if you're going with stuff that was made, we had like Gundam, Zeta Gundam, Double Zeta, and Char's Counterattack had all been made at this point.
This is one of those things too where if you're interested in Gundam but you don't know where to start, or you don't want to put in that much effort, War in the Pocket's a great starter show. It's 6 episodes. Yes, it makes reference to some things in the original series, but it's not required to understand what's going on.
It is reasonably self-contained, and a lot gets explained because our protagonist is a child. A lot gets explained in ways that, make sense even if you don't have all the details.
It might behoove a person to know that there is a thing called Federation and a Duchy of Zeon, and they are having the space wars with each other. But even that you can suss out by just watching this one show. But that's about it. And man, it does a great job of being one of those things where war is bad, but boy, sure are the giant robots are cool.
Have you seen the "Wow, cool robot" meme on the internet? This is the show that basically created it. I mean, even amongst other Gundam shows, this is the, "Wow, cool robot" with the, oh, wait, no, war is horrible.
And that's kind of the theme, also with the side theme of, boy, it's real easy for a young man to get radicalized and he doesn't even realize it.
Yeah, actually, I don't really, weirdly, I only really started thinking about that kind of on this well, technically on a couple nights prior when I had been watching part of it somewhere else. But when I decided to sit down and rewatch the show for purposes of the podcast, it was like, you know, they're radicalizing this nice child. You know, he doesn't know about the politics involved.
I wouldn't call him a nice child.
Well, he's kind of a brat and a kind of a pathological liar too.
He's a bit of a sociopath because at one point in the show he's praying to God and he says, I won't torture or kill frogs for fun anymore. Like that's part of his bargain with God.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, kid. And guys, it takes zero time for you to find out that this kid's a little shit. Because he's in his room, he's playing a video game, and instead of shooting the aliens, he starts shooting his house and the hospital and the school, and it's like, oh, this is a little fucked up.
Well, who amongst us hasn't gone on a murder page in a video game once in a while, killing people we're not supposed to kill? But he does have some signs of the budding sociopath. Although I suspect he has a decent chance of growing up into a normal guy.
One thing, even as a child, I hated stories that focused on children. It just really bothered me. This one's kind of the exception, though. And I think it's just because of how fucking rough this kid ends up getting it that I'm like, oh, you know what? This kid's a little shit and I hate him, but that's okay. He's got what's coming to him.
Probably is going to need therapy for the rest of his life, and that's okay, but he probably needed it to begin with. But,
I mean, the kid is also going through some things that you don't quite realize the extent of what he's going through until later.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this very low-key, his parents seem to be separated plot going on. It's although the ending implies they're getting back together, but hey, who knows if that's going to last.
Yeah, the parents are kind of the secondary thing, but he is kind of like this latchkey kid.
Oh, I mean, he is very much latched on to he latches on weirdly both to his next door neighbor and this random Xeon soldier who comes into his life as surrogate siblings, more or less. Yeah. It's like things are probably not that great at home.
I mean, they're really not, because at one point the mom's like, okay, I'm going to my women's association meeting, do your homework, and then just leaves.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no wonder the kid's getting shit grades. They're just like, do your homework, and he's like, okay, sure, and then doesn't do it, and there's no real follow-up until, report cards get sent home, and then it's like, oh, you haven't been doing the thing I told you to do, and then, had no other follow-up with you whatsoever on?
Yeah. I'm not sure how much of that is intentional conveyance of, oh, this isn't good, and how much of it is just, oh, this is just how it is sometimes that creeps into your story accidentally because maybe you lived that.
Well, for example, I know over the years, I've got some nephews, and on both on my sibling side and my wife's sibling side, and both those kids, they're great kids, but they have both, as they've been growing up, there have been periods as when they were kids going to elementary school and middle school and whatnot, where they've gotten themselves into trouble because they were lying about not doing their homework. This is, and they weren't as going through it as our little kid Alfred is. So this is, I think watching this, I was like, man, this is actually a little more realistic than I kind of want to give it credit for, as much as Al can be a little shit, and he can be, don't get me wrong. Some of this is just kids growing up, kids, being kids until they're not kids anymore.
Right. And it's weird this is just because I'm coming at this from the tail end of 2024 and not, 89 when it was made, but I'm like, the space colony just seems nice. I kind of always felt like the sort of the general implication of life in the colonies is kind of hard and Gundam in general, but I'm like, it's just pleasantly 80s in this colony. This would be a nice place to live.
Well, I would also, man, I want to talk about this show and not like the greater world around us. But there are some places in this world that have been going through war
Yeah.
and terrible situations, and people posting photos of one area looking like a thriving metropolis, and now it looks like a decimated wasteland due to recent events.
Yeah.
And watching this show, I'm like, man, I know this was from frickin' at the end of the 80s, but the themes and things happening to the show and present sure feel relevant today. They really feel relevant today. Oh man, this is feeling kind of awkward watching this show right now, and I just wanted to watch some cool cartoons. Whoo!
I am remembering watching this in a late episode of, it's not really a spoiler story-wise. There's like an ad for another colony, but you hear someone talking about that colony later, and it's like, that's a terrible colony. I don't want to go there. And who knows what's going on in the bigger scheme of the world. Well, I mean, I do a little just from knowing way too much about Gundam, but, other than, a little bit of random mobile suit violence, this colony's having it pretty good, all things considered.
So this show was directed by Fumihiko Takayama, who hasn't done a ton of he does his directing. Like his big thing is that he directed the third Pat Labor movie as well as Orgus.
I feel it's worth mentioning he did series composition for Aoi Hana, which just seems like a whole different genre, but maybe thematically vaguely similar, or vibes wise kind of similar.
Yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see that. I thought was possibly even more interesting was that the screenplay and things were written by Hiroyuki Yamaga, who is one of the central folks at Gainax, who helped write, Gunbuster and a bunch of other stuff that we've liked throughout the years.
True. That's also, I mean, I feel it's a really strong show. Like just, in contenders of just, who are just not even riding on the Gundam coattails. It's a pretty strong show.
No, I think it's a very strong show. This is a great 6 episodes of Japanese cartoons. Like this is a great set of work.
Oh yeah, and of course the Haruhiku Mikimoto character designs and the Yutaka Izubuchi mecha designs, which are both, which is a great combo if you can get it together in the same package.
And they did.
Yeah. Although also Izubuchi's a pretty good character designer, but that's a whole other. But he was on the other side of the other characters in a mecha show, the robots.
Yeah, and these were some cool looking robots. Like no lie.
I do think it's funny that just time has made them like retroactively. They are their own mecha within the Gundam universe. It's not just this is the Zaku 2 drawn by a different artist, and we'll just accept that it's a regular Zaku 2. No, this is a Zaku 2 FZ. Totally different. Existed at the same time. It's just a different model. So, you didn't even have to do that to sell more toys. You could just, label it 0080 version or something. But they just wanted to make it all new stuff, which I think really just, the core of the Mobile Suit Gundam, a million variations of the same robot flavor.
Yeah, and the music was done by Tetsuro Kashibuchi. And while this is one of the few, they didn't do a lot of anime, but I really like the soundtrack for this. It does a great job of doing the things that you need music to do and brings in the Christmassiness when the Christmas is there. And that's important because this takes place during Christmas.
It's got a couple of montages of various. Got a few montages of various kinds. I kind of like all the montage music. Oh boy, this is a Christmas anime.
I mean, 1, it takes place at Christmas. Number 2, it has a very classic Christmas movie narrative in which something has to be done in order to save Christmas.
That is true.
In this particular movie, the Gundam has to be destroyed or else Zeon will nuke the colony. So they're still saving Christmas. They just also happen to be saving an entire colony from a nuclear blast.
Boy, just nobody sticks to that whole no nukes treaty, do they?
Oh, absolutely not. Not even for a minute.
Oh, I find it very well. Okay, it's a little bit greater Gundam universe. I find it incredibly realistic that even after various countries make treaties about the kind of weapons of mass destruction, they're very definitely not going to use. Not that they still don't have options. They're just, these are the ones we're not going to use, and they still end up using them. But yeah, yep, gotta destroy the Gundam to save Christmas.
Yeah, this is one of those, like, I feel that there are two kinds of Christmas movies. It either A, is about Christmas and the spirit of the season, or it happens to take place during Christmas. And while this is definitely more of the latter, it still has elements of the former.
I mean, it's about family and finding family and having that family, be tested in certain ways that we'll delve into once we get to the spoiler territory.
Oh,
It's yeah. Okay, so I will. This is also usually one of our things we talk about beforehand is what our first experiences with this show. And once again, I have to be like, well, my first experience with this show is that Kevin got it on VHS
oh yeah.
and showed it to me.
This was an Anime Village order.
Yeah.
Back in the nice big white clamshell. I think I got it at the same time as the original Gundam movie trilogy, but I might have gotten this first, actually. I feel like I watched, technically War in the Pocket was not my first exposure to Gundam, but it was a pretty early exposure to Gundam.
I know that for me, you showed me the trilogy first, and then I think you showed me this because they hadn't brought out Char's counterattack yet.
Yeah, that sounds plausible.
John, how did you get into the 0080s?
Just a couple of years ago, honestly. Over the last several years, I've been slowly collecting Gundam on Blu-ray, specifically the series that have been dubbed. And yeah, War in the Pocket was one of the early ones that I got. One, because you could get it relatively cheap, around $20 on a good sale. Two, I'd heard about it. I'd heard it was really good. So I was like, sure, yeah, $20, 6 episodes, low commitment. Heard good things about it. And one of my favorite traditions at Christmas time is, on Christmas Eve, we'll sit down, we'll eat KFC, and we'll watch anime. So I love collecting anime that have something to do with Christmas. Christmas episode takes place at Christmas, whatever. And this was this was a particularly interesting one to sit down with loved ones and have KFC.
Yeah.
It wasn't McDonald's, which, considering how much hamburger they eat in this series, would have been more appropriate. But
Weirdly, you could have a second Gundam Christmas choice if you want to watch Gundam Wing Endless Waltz.
indeed,
But,
you can, which I also own.
Which is kind of one of those, two nickels, but it's weird it happened twice kind of scenarios.
Yeah.
Look, I need more anime that has Christmas theming that isn't Itsudatte My Santa. So frankly, if Gundam wants to do it twice, go for it. They can do it 3 or 4 times, honestly. If they want to come back and give me a Witch from Mercury very Christmas special, I'd be okay with that. Let's
Know
go.
who it. I need to know who at Sunrise I need to blow to make that happen. Like seriously, I need that. I need the Witch from Mercury Christmas special.
Yeah, I'd be down for some G-Witch Christmas.
Like that would just. Okay, once again, not the show we're actually talking about, but that show needed more incidental random nonsense episodes. Like desperately. Like it didn't need any less episodes dedicated to the plot, but it just needed more episodes total, with some set aside for random nonsense episodes.
Look, the best Gundam is like Macross and needs 52 episodes.
Yeah, you say that because that's only Macross 7. But I agree with you.
Well, original Macross is like 30 something, right?
Yeah, it's like 39, I think.
Yeah.
Roughly. Yeah, approximately.
Also, next to last episode is a Christmas episode.
Yeah, Christmas episodes. Maybe that's the secret sauce. You need a good Christmas episode. Anyways, more Christmas episodes in my mecha shows is I think what we all agree on, and
Yes.
it's you can't go wrong. I mean, you actually can probably go terribly wrong, but that can also be interesting.
And before we get into spoilers, we should probably get into at least the very basics of this show, which is our main character, Alfred Izuruha. That's a name. But good old Al is our little grade school hellion kid that inexplicably gets to meet an undercover Xeon pilot because Xeon's got to do some things in this colony because the Federation might also be doing things in this colony.
I was gonna say just to clarify a little bit. It starts out with the Xeon group that we will later get to know, minus one character who dies immediately. They go after what they believe to be a mobile suit, and they are going to launch it into space. And our Xeon guys are trying to prevent that from happening, and they fail. The container launches into space, and they follow it out to where it eventually lands. And that's how Al gets involved, because all of a sudden, fighting is breaking out on this supposedly neutral colony. And like any good kid, when he sees a giant Zaku going down in the forest, he runs after it.
And it's about predominantly it's these two guys, Bernie, our Xeon buddy, and Alfred, the idiot kid, are bonding, and stuff happens. But that's essentially the very base, like you need it in like a sentence or two.
Yeah, it becomes a buddy comedy with our guy Bernie Weissman. Happy Hanukkah, Bernie.
Weekend at Bernie's, the anime.
So now that we've set that stage, because if we talk about it more, it's only 6 episodes. It's really easy to spoil.
Yeah, there's not that much to work with.
Yeah. So we're going to take a momentary break, and we'll be right back with more 0080 War in the Pocket. We're back, and we're talking once again about Mobile Suit Gundam 0083 War in the Pocket. And I got that Zaku did not crash land that far off the road. Not really. How it did not get discovered, frankly, is
Well, I'm pretty sure they did discover it because it's like the weapons were gone later. I just think it was too awkward to move.
Yeah, I mean, everyone could see where it went down.
Now, I don't know why alternately there wasn't a lot more people nosing around it just to get a look at it, or there wasn't like a cordon of, cops or whatever your space colony has to keep people out. But it seems like it was discovered. I just think it was like, okay, well, we hauled the weapons away. That's as safe as we can make it. I guess I'll put in a requisition with the Federation to get them to bring a couple of GMs out to move its ass. And they just never got around to it.
This colony has some of the most intrinsic apathy
Yeah.
about war that I've seen in a thing, but there was active bullets and weaponry being fired in the city in episode 1. And those kids are just hanging out on the roof of their school, really easily able to see what's going on. It was maybe like a mile away and nothing's happening. And the responses afterwards of, yeah, you get a free few days free off of school. Sure, that's what we're doing.
I feel like it must drift into the somewhat reoccurring theme of, oh, Japan is such a peaceful place, even though it's a space colony and not Japan, but metaphorically it's Japan. It's such a peaceful place that doesn't know war or the real horrors of war. We've been peaceful for so long. Because I think it's to set up a juxtaposition of, the beginning of the show when Al's just is having as much fun with cool robots as everybody else before he, learns the real horrors of war.
Yeah, I mean, they set Al up and his friends as being like these real military nerd kids. Because one of them has like a rank badge that turns out, they got for $1 from a toy store. But, he's trying to pass it off as like, oh, my brother's a pilot and he gave this to me and it was a lot of trouble. And I'll let you maybe hold this for a minute, but I gotta hang on to it. It's real special.
This is as good a place as any to say as I may never fully recover from realizing the annoying nuisance girl classmate Dorothy's real full name is Dolores Hayes, the same as the real name of Lolita from the novel Lolita. And I might not ever get over that.
That's disturbing.
A little bit.
I mean, can you imagine if it focused on her instead of Al? And it was like her and Bernie.
Well, see, that would just
Yeah,
well, that would not be. Although there's apparently a decent number of references in people's names. Like, I mean, it's almost sort of a Gundam tradition, but as opposed to being jokes, like a lot of people's names are references to someone or something else that is not immediately clear, but it kind of helps if you know what was pop culturally interesting in Japan at the time.
But it is. I also this colony they're on. Was it side 5, side
side
6?
6.
Side 6. Nominally neutral territory. Technically, neither Zeon nor the Federation should be messing around on that colony.
And yet they both are.
Yet they both are. Like, much like the United States of America, the Federation is going to have a military presence there because they just have to have bases everywhere. But I mean, they're not like running the place. It's not technically part of the Federation. Which I expect is, also why there's a hang up of getting down giant robots moved because they're like, you're not my boss.
Sure. It's also very indicative because in one of the early scenes is they're arguing whether or not the Federation even has mobile suits.
Which would not be, well, I'm not going to say it wouldn't be common knowledge, but yeah, like in the timeline of Gundam, they were pretty new. Especially mass production models.
Right. So these kids are pretty far flung like out of combat normally. They don't really experience this stuff. And in fact, it isn't until later on in this show the kids have not picked their sides until their parents start talking about it because the Federation and Zeon are just mucking up more and more in this colony. And I think that's one of the reasons why Al suddenly became, more Zeon sympathetic. It's not because he knows what Zeon's about, but because he saw that they had cool giant robots that he could look at.
And his new buddy Bernie and his scruffy friends who are calling them friends might be a stretch, but his teammates are, they're all pretty nice to him.
Except for the one that wants to murder him.
But in retrospect, they're all relatively nice to him. They humor his ass a lot,
Yeah.
And Bernie's the big brother he didn't know he needed. At least that's sort of what he becomes.
Bernie's also like this very, very. He is a Zaku pilot, but he's very new at this.
Yeah, he's a noob. Like he is basically shot down on his first Well, I don't know if it's his first mission. I imagine it as his first mission.
Well, later on, the captain even mentions how he knew that his group, who essentially sounds like they're actually more, secret ops, like, when you want to get the shit to get done, you call the captain.
They're all highly trained special forces guys. They can, whether you need to infiltrate a colony or blast some stuff up in, very discreet mobile suit deployment, they are your guys. They all seem very good at what they do. Yeah.
And he's talking to the cool sommelier / hacker / items procurer Xeon, sympathizer, that he's like, yeah, man, I needed a new guy because pour one out for Andy, but they gave me like the greenest noob that you could green a noob. Like it was this. They clearly they are sidelining us for whatever reason.
Yeah.
We are a distraction. They threw us over here just to get us out of the way.
Bernie's so green he doesn't even know he's a fascist.
He's not even aware that he's a space Nazi.
I know, right? Which is funny because 0080 kind of dialed up Xeon and space Nazis that would carry on through all future adaptations. I'm not saying the elements weren't there, but they sure threw in a few more guys with a more German vibe to them.
Well, my favorite, Colonel Killing.
Yeah.
And I'm not even making that up. That's
Yeah,
his
no.
real. It's his real god-ass name is Colonel Killing.
In the classic trap, Leon has the cooler robots. So so Al finds himself.
Yeah, him and Bernie doing this thing, and Al he is not very good at being a good kid. He is very good at being a nosy little kid.
Yeah.
Extremely good. Like the actual like special ops guys are hacking and doing illicit deals to get this information where this base is, whereas the kid he figures it out. He gets in there, shows Bernie, hey, let's just go through the tunnels. Hey, we can just go out in space and hop over here, and here we are. Hey, I took footage of the Gundam.
Al, for better or worse, saves a couple of cops from getting killed by the Xeon squad because he saw Bernie in a truck and tried to chase him down and got the cops to help him find Bernie after they had their little meeting in the forest. Yeah, almost gets some cops killed and then is like, oh, Big Brother, and comes up with that whole Big Brother skit on the spot and keeps the cops from nosing around, keeps the cops from getting killed and probably having the whole thing go tits up. Gets himself dubbed a real junior space Nazi, gets a badge and everything.
Yep.
Very good at doing what they actually need to get done. And he's just this little kid.
Precocious might be an understatement.
He's a shockingly good liar. Although it does bite him in the butt a little bit later when he tries to actually, like Boy Who Cried Wolf type, when he tries to explain what's really going on, when cops are like, okay, kid, you got us once. Although also, though, I feel like we also would, we can't forget to mention Al's neighbor, Christina McKenzie.
Best girl.
Or as she likes to go by, Chris.
Well, really, her parents are his next door neighbors, but, they were friends, and she was like his older friend who moved away and has recently come back. And, as quickly...
Absolutely no reason at all, mind you.
Well, I gotta say, we're in the spoilers. I gotta say, it quickly becomes apparent that she's actually a soldier in the Federation. Oh, guess what? She's the new Gundam's test pilot.
Yeah, that is made known to the audience fairly early on, but is never made known to Bernie and only made known to Alfred very, very late in the proceedings.
Which is just, the whole tragedy of them. It's like, because Chris and Bernie very clearly hit it off almost immediately.
Literally, because she knocked his ass out with a bat.
Yes.
And he loved her ever since.
Yeah, there's a 0080 manga that fills in a lot of backstory stuff. Apparently, Christina was quite avid baseball player in her youth.
Carried around the bat at night. That has all the markings of a real I wish someone would kind of person. Like, okay, what's he doing out prowling at night? What are you doing out at night with a baseball bat?
Also, the manga kind of makes her out as more of a computer programmer, more of a, someone more involved in the data side of things, who kind of found herself in the cockpit after, like, they went through 3 other people.
Yeah, because doesn't she say something to Bernie about like, oh, it's not like I'm a soldier, I do data entry or something like
That
that.
really, like, was her actual thing, but, in the backstory, apparently while they were at the Antarctica base, sadly the manga, not the anime, but there was, like, they had a test pilot and he couldn't handle it at all. He couldn't handle the performance of the new prototype at all. And then they had someone else who turned out to be a Xeon spy, and probably how Xeon found out where the base was in the first place. And it's like, okay, I guess we'll let you pilot it, Chris. You at least aren't a traitor and can seem to actually walk from point A to point B in the thing.
Like they say she's a data analyst.
Yeah.
And that sort of makes sense. She's collecting data on the Gundam. And they even mentioned like she's only making use of 30% of that. And I think their goal seemed like they wanted to at least get her to be able to do 80% of the Gundam. So that way, then once they got it there, they could then ship it off and give it to an actual pilot. Ostensibly, it sounds like it's going to be Amuro.
Right. I mean, within the narrative, it just so happens the 1-year war ends way too soon for them to send off their shiny new Gundam to Amuro Ray. Because even within the narrative of the original show, there comes a point where he finds himself bumping up against the original Gundam's technical limitations. Like he is faster than it is, and he's starting to feel it. Which is something weirdly that never really gets addressed within the show. But occasionally Gundam's like real life like that.
Well, and they even mentioned to her, she's like, "Look, you're not a new type. This is not.
Yeah.
This is not really meant for you. Like, new types are crazy. Like they can do shit that you wouldn't believe. Like that's why they're new types. But this ain't that show."
Yeah. So there's sort of a. Although for what it's worth, Chris tends to have pretty deep stats in video games with multiple Gundam pilots in them. Like she's by no means a slouch. She's just sort of accidentally good at it. This really wasn't what she set out to do in life.
And then we get to the later half of this show where it's like, how traumatized can we leave Alpha before the show ends?
Yeah, because of course, eventually you got to find that secret base. Well, in fact, he finds it. But once they know where the secret base is, it's like, oh, well, we could try to steal or destroy or do something with this Gundam. We've smuggled in our own mobile suit. It can cause a ruckus, make a little distraction, keep everyone looking the wrong way, and we get to sneak into the base and, take care of that pesky Gundam for everybody, and then, hey, nobody has to have a terrible Christmas.
If there's one thing I learned from watching Stardust Memory, it's that Gundams are incredibly easy to steal.
They are. That is a reoccurring thing in Gundam. Like, the Gundams that actually have something that would serve as some kind of theft prevention device are pretty few and far between, actually.
Shockingly simple to steal one.
Especially, Universal Century era. There is so much mobile suit stealing that goes on.
My car is harder to steal than a Gundam.
Well, a lot of times they're also currently being they're being tested, they're being worked on, they're not actively developed, so they probably haven't installed the keys yet, I guess.
Again, referencing Stardust Memory, they installed a nuke on one before they installed a key system on one.
Well, they even mention when Bernie gets the Zaku up and running again and he's doing his thing, they're mentioning that there's only so much munition like left in the gun that Chris used earlier in the show. So it's not like they are also restocking this unit with more ammunition or weapons or anything. It's sort of just got what it's got because it's being tested more than it is
Yeah.
being used.
Yeah, to be fair, those little arm gatlings are kind of unique in the Gundam universe. They probably don't have a lot of extra ammo laying around for those, and they're not really in a place where they're easily resupplied.
Yeah, it's when they go after the Gundam is when shit really goes sideways.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all because Bernie fucks it up and just has to do an accent for his character.
I feel like this is the best time to mention that in the English dub, Bernie is voiced by David Hayter, Solid Snake himself, in the most dramatically opposite role. But yeah, not only did Bernie have to go for an accent, he had to go for an Australian accent.
Which please, Kevin, please enlighten everyone as to why that's important.
Okay, I mean, and of course, that he mentioned being from Sydney also, which was early on at the beginning of the 1 Year War. Zeon really started it off by crashing a space colony into Sydney, Australia, which, one, I'm sure annihilated Sydney. Like, it's just a crater. You even see that in later Gundam shows. And it had to have created like almost a nuclear winter type scenario over Australia at the least, you know.
He does say he was born and raised there, so there's a little bit of leeway there.
Yeah. But he talks wistfully about, oh, yeah, it's a beautiful town. It'd be covered by snow this time of year. And for some reason, that's what gets the guy, like, 20 minutes later when he comes running back with it. It's like, wait a minute. It's summer in Australia.
Yeah.
Like, no one thinks about that. Just Sydney just isn't there anymore. And Australia is probably just messed up overall. I don't know. Maybe, as someone else said, maybe Perth is just fine. It's on the edge of Australia. But it was wait a minute, that's the Southern Hemisphere. It's summer there this time of year. That's what got the guy.
That's when everything broke real bad, real quick.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it for Cyclops team.
Yeah, Bernie got everyone else killed because of his stupid ass Australian accent.
They're really skilled professionals, but they're also relatively believable in what real humans can do. So it's not much like a Metal Gear Solid game. Once the alarm goes off, you're about to be gunned down horribly by when they start sending a lot more guys than you after you. There's only so far being really good will get you.
You're hosed.
Poor Bernie.
Yeah, but Bernie gets out.
Yeah, Bernie gets out alive.
Yeah. And then, the one guy who wasn't there, Misha, like really tears up the colony in their little prototype camper mobile suit, fights basically the entire mobile suit complement of a small spaceship that flies into the colony, before he ever faces off with the Gundam. Like, he's got a pretty good rampage.
Oh yeah. I'm pretty. This might be a little inside baseball, but like I'm really debating on the image for the cover art, the shot of the camper going through the city and it passes by a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's going to be the episode art or like the promotional cover or the promotional art I used for like Blue Sky and stuff. But that was a really good moment. I was like, man, I really need a mobile suit and a Christmas tree to really hit home. This is Christmas. Oh, good. They did it. It took them 4 episodes out of the 6, but they got there. Good job, Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket. You did it.
But of course, it's like, well, we got to stop him somehow. We don't got anything left. I guess we have to send out the Gundam.
It was also obvious they were after the Gundam. Like that was what they were going after.
Yeah.
They were also getting the Gundam out because otherwise it was going to get stolen.
Not the most impressive Gundam battle in all of anime, but it does serve to show that no matter how cool this, new Zeon prototype mobile suit is, it is still a bit behind on the tech tree than the Gundam is.
Yeah, it just gets end up, getting shot to pieces.
Well, it also didn't hurt that when our Xeon guy, he thought he had solved it. He had got that cool weapon that slapped around the Gundam, then blew it up. Didn't realize he was just
Oh, yeah, the chain mine.
yeah. But it was just blowing out like the fake outer layer of armor it had that was hiding the actual Gundam colors.
Yeah, which is kind of neat. I don't know if Gundam does it has the whole kind of like an extra suit of armor around the armor idea.
Well, clearly, again, this was a test Gundam at the time. It wasn't meant to be used in active service yet. And they
Right.
thought, well, let's camouflage it with just base ass gray beige, metal around it. It just so happened it worked out as it took the brunt of the damage of the chain mine.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure it's meant to be like there's like a thing on tanks where they like put on extra layers of armor on the tank, and it's meant to kind of be blown off in battle. Like just even the element of how it can be blown off relatively easily minimizes the actual damage your tank would take. Like it's meant to be disposable extra armor, I think. Like it's a neat idea. You don't really see it much in other Gundam, but it's like okay, that's fine. It has some real world examples too, but it just steps out of there. It's like, yeah, you blew up my outer armor. You just made it easier for me to shoot you with a Gatling gun hidden in my arm. It's
I'm just thinking later on in the final episode when poor Bernie bites it, he does some pretty good damage to that Gundam.
Yeah, he does.
oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
in his
Bernie
base
puts up
as Zaku, he
yeah,
kind of kicks that Gundam's ass. He dies for it, but he wrecks some shit in it.
yeah. It is a brutal little fight though, because it's neither of them are really as well equipped as they would like to be. Bernie's has improvised a lot of little booby traps and distractions. He's got himself an axe, and that's about it. But he's real determined to save the colony before Christmas.
And he didn't have to.
Nope.
That's the twist. They find the nukes just in
Yeah.
time.
Like right before Bernie's gonna go out and try to fight the Gundam, it's Al's dad shows up back from wherever he was. It's like, oh yeah, along the way they we came across the Federation ships and they had stopped a little some Xeon ships, and would you believe one of them had a nuclear weapon on board? And it's like, uh-oh. But Bernie was already ready to go. He had his smoke bombs and his Frosty the Snowman and Santa Claus balloons.
But not a cell phone.
But not a cell phone, because this was the
No.
80s. Oh,
No, they had payphones on
yeah.
on the colony.
It take a good while before anything resembling a cell phone would show up in Gundam, and I don't even think it might not ever in Universal Century Gundam. I think they just stuck to the the aesthetic established in the original series.
Which I'm down with. That's probably good. You
Yeah.
set this up, like keep with it. But poor Bernie, like he probably could, because he's only stuck around because of freaking survivor's guilt.
Yeah. Like he was getting ready to flee the colony, and then he saw a redheaded girl who was not quite Chris sitting in the bar getting drunk and mopey, and he was like, fiddlesticks, and came back.
And also went ahead and recorded a tape of like, so probably dead. Here is
You're seeing this. I'm so dead. Please take this to the police. They'll probably believe you. Maybe something can be done. I'm sure going to try to stop that Gundam, but
also, please don't hate whoever killed me. That'd be real bad for them. This is war and it sucks. And I don't even hate the Federation. I was waiting for him to go, I don't even know why I'm doing any of this anymore, really.
I don't even like Xeon.
he tries. He gives it the good old college try, and it's probably going to be the best standard grunt mobile suit does against the Gundam for years to come. Both in real life and in universe.
But in the end, he became just so much Wonderland or whatever brand they're using for calling their hamburgers.
Yeah.
He became a sad meal.
Yeah. I mean, he tries. He just, forgot that decapitating a giant robot doesn't mean the same thing as decapitating a human, but getting stabbed through the chest sure does.
Yeah, it was a reverse Thanos.
Yeah.
Should have gone for my chest.
But they both get tore up. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you see both pilots take damage from just, they get hit so hard that they get shrapnel at different points in the fight. And it's just terrible tragedy that a girl he had a crush on is the one who killed him. And she'll never know it. Well, probably never know it.
No, because for whatever, one of the things that Al's real good at is not being a snitch.
Yeah.
Because he could have said at the very end, and he was like, no, yeah, Bernie will miss you.
Yeah.
He sure will.
Ernie's gonna be sad he missed you.
On the plus side, every time 0080's in a Super Robot Wars, they don't even, Bernie's not even just savable. They don't even try to kill him off. It's not.
On the plus side, Alfred's already made a promise to God to not kill any more frogs.
Yeah.
And he's no longer gung-ho about war and shit.
Yeah.
Oh no, his dad even mentions, oh man, he seems really mature now. And it's like, yeah, Dad, he kind of is an adult now.
It's called trauma.
Yeah, he's a 10-year-old adult. He is probably going to be an upstanding citizen who will need decades of therapy.
Yep, because his big brother just got killed.
Yep.
By his next door neighbor.
We might have had a crush on because she was the cool older lady near his home.
Could have had a happy little family there, but no.
I have a hard time imagining not having a crush on Christina McKenzie if she was your neighbor and you were an impressionable like 11-year-old or whatever he is.
Yeah. Well, she's even kind of cool with him because like when he goes to sneak out to go spend the night in the Zaku, she's like, "Oh, next time you go out, tell me where you're going and I'll come with you." He's like, "No girls allowed." Durr.
And he's like, "Oh, silly kids,
But she would have been down to go hang out with a bunch of kids doing a dumbass little dare on on a school night.
Yeah.
No, she is the exact kind of person he probably needed in his life because again, we found out near the end. Oh yeah. Don't worry, Al. Like your dad and I, we're getting back together. We're gonna be one happy family again, which is probably good for him in the end.
Well, hopefully,
because we don't know if his dad's terrible. He seemed very aloof, but well, dads in anime tend to be aloof, so
right. Although he does fulfill the Gundam protagonist almost requirement of having just a really awkward relationship with both your parents, regardless of your actual home situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take one more break, and then we're going to come back with questioners from listeners like you. We'll be right back. And who would have thought we're back with questions from listeners like you talking about Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 : War in the Pocket. Our first couple of questions come from our buddy.
Speaking of colons.
By Richard. He asked in our Discord, which you can find on our website, OSMcast.com, links to it. What do you like on your Bernie burgers?
I like mine really well done. If one's, not cooked well enough to where it can talk to me, I don't think I can eat it. Bacon, eggs over hard, that's what I go for.
I wish I
Kevin, how do you like to eat your hamburgers? That's the question. Like, it's not really, it's you could do a joke, but you could also just tell us how you like your hamburgers.
It doesn't have to be made out of a space Nazi.
Although, boy, if it was anybody but Bernie, that would. Oh, GI Robot shedding a single tear when he realizes kill all Nazi means Bernie Wiseman too. But medium well, a little ketchup and pickles.
I mean, I'm pretty medium well. It really depends on where I'm going. Like, I really enjoy myself a good teriyaki burger.
Mhm.
But other times, I like a burger with egg on it. Hell, sometimes I want to feel extra decadent. A peanut butter burger is actually really good
Ooh,
if they do it right.
I like peanut butter in general. I hadn't thought of that as a thing on a.
Oh, when it's done right, it's really, really good.
I've seen that as a thing, but I don't know, man.
Look, Toy Box, rest in peace, had a really good one. It was Richard's other question was, is the reason women are considered less violent than men is due to the fact that their clothing lacks pockets? And as we now know, war is in the pocket.
All I know is Christina McKenzie liked to wear pants.
Yep.
Definitely
And-
had pockets.
And definitely had a bat.
Yeah.
Like I said, she definitely had that big wish someone would energy.
Yeah. Man, I miss when anime women could have pants.
And bats.
That's a whole other discussion. But although I have strong opinions about if you're in a sci-fi setting that often involves space where you may or may not encounter areas of reduced or no gravity, why are you ever wearing a skirt? Ever?
Why would you not?
Like I have more so to the point I have issues with the occasional random mini skirt in a Gundam show. Although I don't think that ever comes up that rarely comes up in Universal Century.
Where they've got the little handles that you hang on to that take you to different parts of the ship.
Yeah,
those are great for wearing mini skirts on.
right. I was gonna say that, and now I'm flashing to like Zeta Gundam, where there's a surprising amount of I just think no one told Fa that was a tunic, not a mini dress. But whatever. But Chris has very sensible pants most of the time, and I appreciate that.
Also, I really do like the name War in the Pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that is a very good name. It's a very descriptive name. It sounds neat. And this is a little pocket. This is also the first, I think, Gundam OAV series. Like this was like an experiment of just telling a little short story in the Gundam universe. And it's a pocket episode, sort of. And it does a really good job of it. Or the pocket's good.
Yeah.
Our buddy Nico asks, Camphor, best 1 Year War Xeon suit design?
I tried really hard to come up with a contrarian answer to this just because I'm me. It might actually be, though. It's a really good design.
It is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess deep in my heart, I still love the Act guy more, but I mean, that design is just inherently goofy, and that's part of the reason I love it.
The ones in the beginning, like the very, very beginning.
Yeah, like the High Gogs.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely let's take a very most of the Xeon aquatic mobile suits are pretty goofy looking. Like
Yes.
the Zugok that Steiner has is pretty close to original Gundam style, but the Gogs in original Gundam are much goofier looking to the extent that it's like, oh no, this isn't a Gog, it's a High Gog. Like it's a lot more cool and streamlined, and all the features that are kind of goofy looking on the regular Gog are now cool. With its little whippy arms and claws and laser guns. It's
it really might be the best. Yeah, because Zabi is that's post 1 Year War, because that was
right.
Char's counterattack is after. Yeah, that's.
Oh yeah, there's cooler stuff down the road that's coming, but
I just remember where Char's counterattack initially was on the timeline.
Yeah. Although,
but yeah, no.
Although also weirdly, one of the strongest competitors I would think is actually the Gelgu Jaeger, which is also from War in the Pocket, which is really just shows up for a few minutes in one of the space, but not even probably doesn't probably even get a minute of screen time in one of the space battles. It's just out there being cool every the couple of seconds they cut to it. It's just out there kicking ass because it's a Gelgu, but it's a very, slick redesign, like a lot of the very clearly immediately identifiable as being a Gelgoog, but it's got the style of the OAV to it and some cool little wrist guns in addition to its, regular weapons.
And then the other question Nico asked was, what do you think happens to Al or Christina after the 1 year war?
Well, it's not really a what happens to Al, but I do find it interesting that the Japanese voice actor of Al was like legit an actual kid. And he kind of grew out of doing the role to the point where if, Al came back in other Gundam properties, they voiced him with someone else, or well, like with games and spin-offs and whatnot, but they had someone else. But like in one of the G Generation games, they've got his original voice actor as the narrator for the 008 sections, or 0080 sections rather, where it's kind of framed like remembering the story and telling it to somebody else of, oh, back when I was a kid, all this stuff happened. And I don't know what he'd be doing with himself, but I don't think he grew up to become a soldier. I'll say that much.
You think he dated Dorothy?
Yeah, I bet they dated in high school just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like eventually somebody had to pull the lever on that one. I don't know if they would have ended up together like in a permanent sense, but I bet they eventually broke down and dated.
Yeah. Christina, I just really want good things for her.
Now, in the other not too far down the road OAV series, Gundam 0083, there is an episode where they're in an Anaheim electronics facility, a company who built a lot of the mobile suits. And there is a red-headed Anaheim electronics employee who looks a lot like Christina McKenzie, just incidentally in a background. And that's a little bit of fan theory. That's where she eventually ended up. And that's arguably not a great place to end up ethically, but
No.
It seems like possibly a logical career path.
Clearly, she went back to Earth, probably still doing data stuff. She probably did keep working on Gundam stuff.
I think Christina's a little too morally upright to work for Anaheim, though, or to stay at Anaheim.
Probably to stay at Anaheim. I could see her getting involved in the pre-Zeta era before people start getting a real feeling of, oh, these guys are a little questionable. They kind of sell to both sides, all sides, and they may have their own agenda that never really got fleshed out, but they may have had their own agenda.
I could see that. She definitely has the vibe of someone who wants to get on the ground floor of something. And then when she discovers that, oh no, y'all's assholes. Oh, I don't want to deal with this, and F's out. I could totally see that being a thing. And I think, unfortunately for Al, he's gone through the worst couple of months in his life. He probably comes out of it okay. I'm sure whatever he's doing, he probably works at the spaceport. I could see him totally following in his dad's footsteps as far as that goes. He clearly has an affinity for these giant robots and technology and things. I could also see him being a spy.
There are exoskeletons, not really exoskeletons, but kind of small mobile worker things that are little tiny mobile suits within the universe that, hey, they need people to run those too.
Yeah, Al's grids probably go up quite a bit because he's probably going to end up feeling alienated from his friends that like to play war games and stuff. So he'll probably spend more time studying, and he's a smart kid even though he just doesn't want to do the work. So
social worker. I don't know. Maybe he would end up as a worker.
I'm telling you, he's also really good at being sneaky. He could be a spy.
Now that would be interesting. Man, just writing an extra scene if they ever make that second Hathaway movie. And it's just you meet a grizzled old spy, or, well, at least a grizzled adult spy, and it's what's your name? And it's Al. Don't elaborate. Just let the fans wonder. Get his original voice actor to play him. That's
All right. What are y'all's awesomes out of awesome and final thoughts about Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket? Kevin.
Oh no. Uh, oh, 5-star Michelin burger of awesome. No, I really like it a lot. I kind of interesting because I do feel like a lot of the mecha action is a little understated compared to some Gundam shows, and yet, it still feels really good, even though it's clearly not the real focus of the show. I know it's the terrible running joke of this mecha show is not about the robots, it's about the characters. And despite that being literally every mecha show, it is definitely true in this one.
John?
I give it 17 Santa balloons. Awesome out of awesome. It's a really, really great contained story. It has memorable characters, good action. I don't know what's missing from this other than just a happy ending. But it is really good. I highly recommend it. Like I said, if you're not into Gundam and you're curious, you want to try something out, you can do a lot worse than War in the Pocket.
Yeah, I'll give it 6 episodes of just a really good self-contained story out of awesome. This tells us a really good, short, very personal war story. And it is very, even today, thematically relevant things that are happening in that. Again, I totally feel has, unfortunately, you still see in the world today. You could draw some real easy parallels. It gives you a shot, especially we here live in America where we haven't seen an actual war stateside, not in our lives, not in our parents' lives. Like it's been not possibly in our grandparents' lives or before, like it's been a long time since war has actually hit in America, the United States of America. And you've got this colony that, as far as we can tell, up until now, has never actually experienced war and never thought they were going to. And now they're dealing with that. And what are the ramifications of it, how they're dealing with it. Again, just sort of this innate apathy that even as terrible things are happening, people are feeling bad, but they're also still just moving on with their lives pretty quickly. I think that final scene when Al finally just breaks down, it's just the principal going, and very bad things happened, and we're all very sad, but we're going to buck up and rebuild our school, rebuild our colony, and hold pride in your heart and love in your soul for those that we've lost, and we will continue on being this colony. And that's when Al's just like, man, fuck all this. This sucks. I'm just going to cry now. I'm 10 and have been through an unimaginable ordeal. It's just, if you don't want melancholy, well, you probably shouldn't watch Gundam. Not when Gundam's really doing its thing.
There's a couple of Gundam that are surprisingly lighthearted, but this is not one of them.
No, it is not.
Although the real bitter pill is so much of Gundam has just recently become out of print and kind of hard to find. Like, if you come across, the Blu-ray for this anywhere that looks remotely reasonably priced, you better snatch it up.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Bandai Namco will figure out a new distribution partner for actual Blu-rays of Gundam in America, because so much of it, there is not some great Gundam, but there's also it's just some excellent Gundam. And this is one of those. This is excellent. This is great. It is definitely worth watching if you have any remote interest in watching a Gundam show. So, that said, this has been the OSMcast. Thank you, Kevin and John, for joining me in these conversations.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yay! It's been a little bit, but
It has been a little bit, and hopefully we will do this more often. That's my hopes and dreams. We'll see. We'll see what 2025 brings. Hopefully, more podcasts, which you can find at OSMcast.com, OSMcast.com. This has been a production of the OSMcast. The OSMcast, you're listening to it. I am now the editor guy doing the editing, so edited by me. Our theme song was done by DJ Inabito. You can find his stuff at djinabito.com. You can again find our things like our Patreon, our links to our Discord, our TeePublic, all the things that you can find for us is at our website, OSMcast.com, OSMcast.com. You can also find this podcast ostensibly on various social networks like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and also Blue Sky. And that's actually where you can find me mostly posting, is also on Blue Sky at its basal time. Kevin, where can they find you?
you can find me at Twitless_Kevin on Twitter. Sometimes I am also at Rebel Robo on bluesky.social, which I really should be trying to post on more because all the cool kids are going to Blue Sky. And, I'm pretty active on the Discord if you drop on by.
John?
You can find me on pretty much every platform at J5 is live. I don't post a lot. Please check out our Discord. Come hang with us. I don't post a lot there either, but I read a lot of what happens. So if you want to interact, you can always at me. You can drop a line. I'll see it.
So once again, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone out there in the world, for listening. And until next time, we're out. Episode, y'all.
Yay!
Thank you, Basil. Appreciate you guys humoring me on this one.
It was a Christmas miracle.
Yeah. It was, and that's fine. And next year
it's
we're
going
to.
It's a good show.
It is a good show.
I like an excuse to talk about Gundam. Like I don't already, but